of the Flower Moon 10 Nominierungen für den Oscar. Es sind Meisterwerke, die er geschaffen hat, über die Geschichte der USA und immer auch über die Geschichte von Gewalt. Denken Sie an Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, Irishman, um nur ein paar zu nennen. Sie sehen jetzt die Pressekonferenz zur Hommage für Martin Scorsese, der auch, und das bewundere ich besonders, ein großer Bewahrer von Filmkunst ist. Er setzt sich immer ein für den Erhalt von Meisterwerken der Vergangenheit.
When I was your age, they would say we could become cops or criminals. When you're facing a loaded gun, what's the difference?
This is not the regular police. This is the state police.
We are an elite unit.
This is who we're after.
Frank Costello.
You won't be paid as a regular cop, but there's a bonus involved.
So what do I do?
You will not ever know the identity of undercover people.
You have anyone in with Costello presently?
Maybe.
Do you know who I am?
Maybe not.
I'm gonna have my associates search you.
That was quick. Think he's dead already?
I think we could work something out.
We are all convinced that Costello has at least one mole inside the Special Investigations Unit.
There are parts of my job I can't talk to you about.
Man, you are trouble.
You don't know the half of it.
You better get organized, quick.
Hey, last time I checked, I tipped you off and you're not in jail.
Getting the feeling we got a cop in my crew.
Sooner or later, he's gonna find out who I am, and he's gonna kill me.
Calm down. We're the only two people on the face of this earth that even know you're a cop.
I can get the rap. You just gotta let me do it my way.
If you don't, it won't be me who pays for it.
You're lying to me.
There are things you don't want to know about.
What are you waiting for, honestly? I mean, do you want him to chop me up and feed me to the poor? Is that what you guys want?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
So we are ready to start this press conference for our honorary Golden Bear. I think Mr. Martin Scorsese needs no introduction. He's a good friend of the festival. He's a good friend of whoever loves cinema. And yeah, we will talk about cinema then. I will start with the first one. Mr. Scorsese, you, maybe more than any other living filmmaker, you have devoted your life to cinema, creating it, but also restoring, preserving it, spreading the gospel of cinema, both old and new. I would like to ask you, as we are in a film festival, and as film festival play today in a world where moving images are everywhere, but maybe not often so meaningful, what is for you the role of film festival?
Well, I think the role of the film festival has always been, for me, the attention to a new voice, the individual voice, the individual artist making film. Something that may be a film that you would see once and remember for the rest of your life. You may not be able to see it again. But I don't necessarily mean remember in a nostalgic way, but that it has an effect on how you think about life and how you think about the people around you and how you behave in your life. And maybe if you see the film 30 years later, the film has changed. In actuality, the film is the same, but you've changed. And so somehow you might be able to grow with the films, like listening to Beethoven symphonies. They change every time. They really do. And so I think that does not mean cinema can just be a kind of really enjoyable entertainment. I think that's fine too. It's just a matter of like an absorption of that and a completion. That's over, it's finished, and it becomes boring afterwards. But it's still very enjoyable and still very well done. But I think the film festival has the opportunity to introduce to the world different points of view, basically making the world closer and smaller, meaning people knowing each other and knowing each other's cultures. I think that's an important step.
Thank you. Rainer Rothe?
Yeah. Marty, as Carlos said, for decades you've been committed to film preservation of movies from all over the world, and some of those were screened in our Berlinale Classics,
yes.
So we admire that work. What do you look for when selecting a film for restoration?
Well, initially, we looked for films that influenced us, and that's myself and let's say Brian De Palma or Steven Spielberg, Paul Schrader, that whole group that we grew up together. My friend Jay Cox, all of us was a small group that we had back in 1971, 72, and 73 before we all started really making movies. And so we would always ask about a certain film. Did you see that? Have you seen this? And we would look for copies. And we found that it was a great difficulty finding good copies of these films. But primarily, once we saw a copy, or even if we hadn't seen it, there was still something, a mystique about the film or about who the people were who made the film, all of this sort of thing, which would be revealed, which would be discussed tomorrow, for example, in the Powell and Pressburger film that we put together finally, David Hinton directed. And so there's this magic of a discovery, always discovering something new in art, in cinema as art, you know. And as I say, it could be a John Ford film, or it could be a film by anyone from, or Sajid Ray. Like, for example, the first films that I saw of India were on television, and they were basically, it was Pather Panchali, dubbed in English with commercials in New York. It was great. It was great. And I realized that, I always tell the story, I realized, having been a real lover of, I was about 10 years old when I saw The River by Jean Renoir. My father took me to see it, and I love that film, and I love Renoir. And yet, when I saw the Sajid Ray, I realized that the people in Renoir's film or in other films made by English or French and Americans, the people in Pather Panchali were the people you usually see in the background of the other films. You follow? And I began to put it, wait a minute, this is very interesting. They're living in this village in the middle of what may be called a jungle of some kind, and yet these are people who really, there's no difference between us. And so as a young person, that opened the world to me, because my parents were, they were literate, but they didn't have books in the house. There were no books. I had to bring in my own books, and really a lot came through seeing foreign films, or they're French, certainly Italian films immediately when I was 5 years old, the neorealist films. But, you know, there's a big difference between the Italian film and Sajid Ray, and then Ugetsu by Mizoguchi, which I also saw on television, dubbed in English.
With commercials?
With commercials. And it still was great. And then there was Kurosawa, you know. So all this was opening up. And the idea was to, if it affected me, a kid who came from a neighborhood where the parents weren't intellectuals and didn't read books and that, well, you know, maybe, you know, similar kids around the world might see a film and be affected by it, and they may not make films or anything, but it could change their lives. And so I became very sad to realize, of course, the impermanence of life, as we all know. But does it have to be that impermanent so soon? That's all. Why don't we... People say, Marty, the whole world's going to die. You say, I know, but we're heading towards the sun, or we're heading towards the moon or something. And so, in the meantime, we're all here. We're all here, so let's communicate.
Yes.
Let's communicate through art.
That's a great...
Okay, the first question is here.
Thank you. It's unbelievable. I have possibility to speak with Martin Scorsese. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
My question is, how do you describe in one word who is Martin Scorsese? And next one is, I want to invite you to my country, Georgia, to drink with
Georgia.
me one glass of excellent Georgian wines.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I know that wine.
And I am Hatuna
I like
Kundadze from Georgian
cinema.
Film and Georgian Film Review.
I like Georgian cinema. I know. What I have seen, I've seen of it. To say in one word who I am, I've been. It's a mystery.
Okay, that's a perfect answer.
Okay, hi, I'm Sofia from Argentina. In your film, Italian American, the first of many collaborations with your parents, you decided to put part of the focus on food. And which, having Italian roots myself, I found it really on point. And I was wondering, apart from the famous sauce, what was your favorite dish from your mother while growing up?
Oh, my favorite, my mother's. I preferred the lasagna that she made.
Oh, no.
Yeah, my daughter Kathy, she's named after my mother. She knows how to make it, but I think that's the end of the line. Yeah. Now, come on, there must be... Lasagna is good, any way you get it, but my mother's was great.
Yeah, the next one.
Good day, Mr. Martin Scorsese.
Yes.
My name is Aras Kiribay from Kazakhstan, writing for 98 magazine. You've inspired so many generations of young filmmakers from all over the world. And yesterday in the documentary, we saw that you've been inspired for so many different generations of other filmmakers of the past. I'd like to ask, therefore, are you being inspired today by any of the younger filmmakers, the ones that are just making their names in the industry? And if yes, could you name some of them? Thanks a lot.
Well, it's a good question. It's just that since I'm 81, time is an issue. In that, where I devote the time to look at a film, I need to really select that and decide to go there. There's certain new Japanese cinema and Celine Song's Past Lives, Vim's film, Perfect Days. So, I mean, there are other young people whose work that I'm fascinated by. I try to keep up as much as I can, but I find it difficult in terms of following as many as possible. I wish I could be more specific on that. Sorry.
The next question is there.
Dear Martin Scorsese, my name is Márcio Salem from Cinema com Crítica from Brazil. Congratulations for your well-deserved honorary Golden Bear Award. I'm nervous, sorry. You are a paramount of movie making, and it's our privilege to appreciate your work. Thank you very much. Much has changed since you began filmmaking. Digital, streaming, even TikTok changed the way in which pictures are made and consumed. And much has been said about the death of cinema and the death of theatrical experience, but less has been talked about the death of film criticism, after social networks devaluated the role of a film critic. In your opinion, how can film criticism still be relevant nowadays? Thank you very much.
Well, it's a good question. I think, although, criticism exists only in the shadow of the art that's created, Without that, there can be nothing. And so we take the risks, and we have to take the further risk of being evaluated critically. One important thing is critics with an original point of view, or at least a sense of focus, and the word curating comes to mind. Curating curating filmmakers and curating types of films. For example, you know, when we started making independent films in New York, it was based on what John Cassavetes and Shirley Clark did and all that sort of thing. Separate from California, which was still very much the Hollywood system, the studio system. But in terms of film history, basically we had the 1940s, 1950s, and I say that because silent film, you couldn't see anything good silent. What I mean by that is that there were no good prints. Everything was scratched up, beaten, projected incorrectly. So the complete silent cinema was gone, pretty much, in America, from what I could tell, in New York, where we were. I don't include the 1930s, because the early 30s films were also very poorly represented on television, rarely shown in theaters. Late 30s, maybe. So you had the 40s and the 50s, and you had, from Europe, we had neorealism from Italy, and we had the high-quality French cinema of Marcel Carnet and René Clair and that sort of thing. And, of course, there was the British cinema throughout, because it was English-speaking, and we had it in America. So it was very rare to see a film from Asia. See, so, you know, when Ugetsu was shown on television, that's a major event. What I mean is, it wasn't heralded, but it slipped in. The Japanese cinema slipped in through Rashomon and that sort of thing. But you had an ability to actually catch up on cinema that was not necessarily representing your own culture. But now, you have 100 years of cinema. You have silent cinema, which is back in effect, although it's only 10% of it. The rest has been destroyed. But what you can see of silent cinema, for the most part, is pretty good now. The restorations. You have films in the 1930s in beautiful condition. You put on TCM anywhere, and you'll see a film that looks like it was made yesterday. You have everything from the 50s. You have it, and plus you have it from all the other countries in the world. So how do you tell a young person where to go, what direction their viewing should take? You know, and at least it's like starting a baby walking in a way, and eventually they'll get the idea. If you put one foot in front of the other and push the earth back, they'll propel forward. But you need to give them that push first to say, okay, you like Asian cinema. Well, there's Taiwan. Well, there's Indonesia. Well, there's Japan. There's China. There's mainland. There's Hong Kong. All of this has to be focused, I think, and maybe a critic can help that way. You see, what's fashionable dies within a day, in a way. You know, something else, the value has got to be stronger for you to look at a film 10, 20 years later and say, oh my God, you know, that's still as powerful. Why is that? We don't know. Maybe because of what it has to say to us as human beings. You know, we're still able to be moved by it. But criticism can help focus younger people to concentrate. I was doing location scouting for Killers of the Flower Moon in the middle of Oklahoma. And I am a New Yorker.
That we know, yes.
And the middle of Oklahoma is just as it sounds. It's a beautiful place, but I'm in the middle of wide prairies and sky. And there was this house, and we went to this house to look for location scouting, possibly utilizing this person's house. And she was very nice. She was an artist. And she was living in this, two-family house, whatever, a small farmhouse. And she had a son, was about 20 years old. And we were walking through the house and saying, I'm not sure if this is right. I have to look at pictures of the original one. This is 2 years before the film was made. And towards the end of the visit, it was very hot, I remember. The young man asked his mother if we could have a picture taken. She said, do you mind, my son? He likes movies. You know, I said, fine. So we have a picture, and the boy leans into me and leans towards me and says, "You help distribute Wojciech House's The Hourglass Sanatorium?" I said, "Yes." We're in the middle of nowhere. He said, oh, I love that film. I said, and have you seen Ashes and Diamonds? Have you seen? Yes, I've seen Ashes and Diamonds. We got all the Polish films. And he said, oh, his mother said, oh, he does this. He and his brother just go there and they bring these films back and they watch them all night.
Yeah, amazing.
And you never know where it goes.
Okay.
To Athens, Greece. I'm Polly from Greece. I work for FlixGR and Nova Cinema TV, but once I was a kid watching Taxi Driver in a small theater in Athens, and thank you for making me the person I am today. I wanted to ask you, every time I had the great honor of following you in master classes or interviews, you have been talking passionately about other people's cinema. You love cinema and you never talk about yours, but here we are, you're receiving an honorary Golden Bear. And I'm wondering, do you allow yourself to say, I have affected filmmakers of generations to come. I have become an adjective, a cinematic term, when people are writing reviews. I'm receiving an honorary award.
Well, I mean, I never thought of it in those terms. I guess when I was younger, full of even more ego and ambition. The ambition, I guess, you never quite lose that, to be honest. The ego, I guess you never quite lose it either. You try to. You try to because it gets in the way sometimes. And so the more I believed people telling me such things, I think the more it hurt me. So I had to push that away. I had to say, you don't know. And I think it happened on King of Comedy. It's when I realized it was free. I didn't know anything anymore. I put it all into Raging Bull, then Taxi in New York, and then Last Waltz. And I said, I don't know anything. Meaning, I'm free now to rethink everything. Where is the camera aimed? Where is the camera placement? What is this character doing in the frame? Story, yes. Character, yes. But in how to tell a story with pictures, I had to start all over again. And I find that's happened, thankfully, gratefully, a number of times in my life where even The Irishman, I had to stop and say, no, wait a minute. I don't want to I don't want to move the camera here. I don't want to cut in here. I just want to do this, or I want to do that. Well, what do we need for an establishing shot of a car driving up? Then it has to be rhythm. It has to be music. It just can't be a car driving up. You see, in other words, otherwise it becomes something that is ordinary. And so every frame in it, even though it's a lengthy film, every frame was thought of in a different way. And a lot of it is demanded by the nature of the characters of the film, the actors, he or she in the frame. But primarily that thing of freeing yourself from restraint of what and how something should be or has to be, doesn't have to be. Once you get to that, it's great because your biggest problem then is yourself. You have to deal with who you are, you see, and then that has to come out in artistic terms. And that happens almost every time in the past 10 or 15 years, whether it's a crazy mosaic like Wolf of Wall Street, or it's in 3D like Hugo, or it's Irishman, or it's Killers of the Flower Moon, or Silence even.
Thank you.
Hi. Joschuk from German television ZDF. You're obviously, Mr. Scorsese, a walking encyclopedia of film, and you're obviously strongly connected to Berlinale, and not to forget, you made one of the biggest and best films of all times. So once again, what's your answer for people claiming that cinema as we know it, and maybe this is also connected to festivals as we know it, is maybe not dead, but just about to die? What's your answer?
I don't think it's dying at all, no. I think it's transforming. It never was meant to be one thing. We were used to it being one thing, you know? I mean, I grew up as one thing. If you want to see a movie, you went to a theater. A good theater or a bad theater, but it was a theater. It was always a communal experience. Festivals gave you indication of what other movements were around the world. How the world was expressing itself in cinema. Also history lessons or cultural lessons. But, you know, the technology's changed so rapidly, and it's changed so exhaustively and rapidly. It keeps changing that, in a sense, the only thing they could really hold on to is, again, the individual voice. The individual voice can I must say, can express itself on TikTok or can express itself in a 4-hour film or a 2-hour miniseries. Maybe, miniseries. It's very hard to shoot those because of the production, the time needed, and that sort of thing. But what I'm getting at is that I don't think we should let the technology scare us. I think you don't become a slave to technology. Let us control the technology and put it in the right direction. The right direction being from the individual voice rather than, again, something which is just consumed and tossed away.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Martin. I'm 21 years old. My name is Lazar Krisimov from one of the most corrupted countries, Bulgaria, in Europe. In Bulgaria, we have no. It's true. It's not funny. In Bulgaria, we don't have. The politicians aren't so interested in you in the Berlinale. They gave me only like 5 or 10 minutes in the private national radio. I'm from Derek Radio Bulgaria. And my question is the following. Because this scene, I think, when Jack Nicholson's character says this ain't reality TV, is the most poignant scene in The Departed, in the movie. And can I do an improvisation and then I'll tell you the question? Because I can do a perfect Nicholson, only 10 seconds. The line, there's like 3 lines. Yeah.
Are you saying, was it improvised? The scene?
Yeah, but I can do the scene and
you
then
can do the whole scene. You want to do the scene?
Yeah.
Yes. You want to do the scene?
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, but it's really good.
Yeah,
okay.
Go.
You will allow it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sorry.
What do you got?
When I tell you to dump the body in the marsh, you dump him in the marsh. Not from a John Hancock bar where a guy has to get a fucking blowjob.
That's right.
Don't laugh. This ain't reality TV.
That's right. Because he told him to bury the body.
Yeah.
Not with some guy. Exactly.
Yeah, because
that's good.
And I think because we're all here for the film. Because
right.
It's really, I think, a masterpiece. And because I was born 2002, 2006, I was like 4 years old. But I saw the movie 1 or 2 times. And the question is about the screenplay. Did Nicholson improvise this line, this ain't reality TV? Because you said in an interview...
Which line? Yeah. Which line?
This ain't reality TV.
Oh,
it's,
I think he did. No, maybe not. Maybe Bill Monahan wrote that. Okay. No, seriously. The film was rewritten many as we were shooting.
Yeah.
And I told you to bury the body. That was written. I remember.
Yeah.
This scene where he says, "I smelled a rat," and that scene, some of that was improvised, and certainly the gun was improvised.
But because that's the question, is it a metaphor for you? Because you said it in an interview, the line "This ain't reality TV," that it's a metaphor for the whole movie. That it's not like some cheap crime thriller, but it's like an Oscar-worthy performance, not only for Nicholson but for the whole film. And he didn't win that Oscar.
No, I know. Okay. I know.
Okay, thank you.
I know he didn't win. I know. No, thank you. We experimented a great deal with each scene in that film. Even in Killers of the Flower Moon, same thing. We kept working on the script as we were shooting. So very much so, even more so on Departed. And that character of Nicholson is based on somebody I remember growing up.
Thanks for the performance.
We go back to questions.
This is Mark Harapetian, founder and publisher of the film magazine Spirit, the Smile and the Storm. Since his 16th living year I do. So I'm also a long time in the business. But it's a really big honor to have you here, Mr. Scorsese. Last year we had here Steven Spielberg and I could talk with him. And now I know that he named Killers of the Flower Moon your absolutely masterpiece. I agree. I think it's your best film.
And
I know the question is, I know you work together on the restoration of films, especially Universal classics, but is there any idea of doing together a feature film?
Myself and
Steven.
Oh, no. We've tried over the years to produce films together, and I think we only came close to it with Maestro, I think, and a couple of other things. It would be very enjoyable, that's for sure.
Hello. And hello down there, your new project. Yeah. And I watched on your Instagram webpage where you told that sometimes the 30 seconds is much difficult, then make 2 hours or maybe 4 hours for Killers of the Flower Moon. And you told that sometimes the 30 seconds is life. Can you share us and can you tell us which one was the best 30 seconds in your life? Thank you. And I'm from Georgia, and we are invited together, you and we are waiting in Georgia. Thank you.
You mean which best 30 seconds of my life? You mean in film? Is that it? All right. Well, I mean I think actually it was a 30-second spot I did for, it was the first time, I think, for Giorgio Armani back in 1980s, a black and white one that Nestor Almendro shot. And I thought it was a boy and a girl in a bedroom talking and learning each other's language. And I thought it was very sweet. And that's when I realized, too, shots could be on a screen. I should have known it from the Soviet cinema. I should have known that because you could, in 3 perforations, not even 4 perforations, not even 3/4 of a frame sometimes in Eisenstein, that things go by so quickly and it stays in your brain forever. And I should have realized that. I tried to do it. I think I was able to do it sometimes, but I really learned it in doing this, quote, commercial, unquote, because I don't know if it sold anything for Mr. Armani, but we had a good time making the commercial. But the reality was, what's in the frame for how long? And what is it telling us, the viewer? And then if one frame is ambiguous, when that frame is cut to another frame and another frame, the 3 frames say something else. I'm talking theoretically, but it's very, very like a piece of music. You know when it's right. You feel, they say, the vibe, the vibe. And I found that the precision that you need, or I should say the discipline that you need to be able to control that frame and the information in that frame is lessened every time. And even in this wild commercial we did about the aliens, that even that was a real workout. A real workout. That doesn't mean one is undisciplined when shooting a feature. It's just a different form. But it also shows you how powerful the visual image is.
I think we are running out of time, but there is one last question.
Hi, Mr. Scorsese. This is Carol Guerrero from W Radio. A couple of weeks ago, you were in the Vatican. You met the Pope. So what can you tell us about this meeting and about the next film you're preparing about Jesus? Thank you.
Well, I think the possibilities of making a film and the concept of Jesus, the idea of Jesus, really stems from my background growing up in the Lower East Side, my interest in Catholicism, in the priesthood, which really led, I think, ultimately to the film Silence. And that particular film was viewed by the Vatican, and so I met the Pope a couple of times based on that. And he also called for, at one point in a meeting, talked about fresher ways of thinking about the essentials of Christianity, the essentials of it. I'm always interested in that. As far as making a film on it, I'm contemplating it right now. What kind of film, I'm not quite sure, but I want to make something unique and different that could be thought-provoking and I hope also entertaining. I'm not quite sure yet how to go about it, but once we finish our rounds here of promoting the film, maybe I'll get some sleep. and then wake up and I'll have this fresh idea of how to do it. But I'm not sure. But the connection has been because of the Jesuit missionaries in Japan in the 17th century, and I believe His Holiness the Pope is Jesuit.
Okay, we do have one last question.
Oh.
Sorry, but...
Mr. Scorsese, I'm so delighted to see you here again, and I'm so lucky to be in the situation that I can talk to you for the second time. When you were here 2008 with the best rock band of the world, or with the best live performer of all times,
yeah.
You made history, and it was one of the most crowded press conferences in the recent history from the Berlinale. The Rolling Stones made a record for months ago after 18 years pause. Talking about your future works, do you consider making another film with the Rolling Stones? And if not, can you at least guarantee to keep up the tradition of putting Gimme Shelter in all of the soundtracks?
Well, I'm going to try to put Gimme Shelter in. Remember when Mick Jagger, remember what he said? He said,
yes.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. He was right. He said, Shine a Light is the only film that I have not put Gimme Shelter in.
Yes, 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 yes.
I'm telling
remember.
You, I had some dental work done recently, and they put me out for it. I was, under, and apparently the dentist was listening to Gimme Shelter. It worked.
So do you consider making another film with the Rolling Stones?
I would love to, but who knows?
Or you were traumatized with the set list that was given too late to you at the shooting at that time?
I'm sorry?
The set list was given to you very, very late when you were beginning to shoot the Shine a Light. Remember that you were here?
Oh, yes.
Theme?
Yeah.
Were you traumatized?
That was kind of a joke.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scorsese.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.